Welcome to This Week from Blue Mountain Broadcasting. I'm your host, Lynelle Ellis, the president of Blue Mountain Broadcasting Association. And I'm so glad that you tuned into the program today because I'm going to be interviewing Daniel Biggs, our production manager. And he's giving us a really great update on what's happening with the production of Secret Life of the Desert. Can't wait to talk with him about that and share what he has with you. And then we'll have some station news items at the end of the program. But just to start off right now, we're going to have a devotional thought. What do you think about God's law? I mean, what kind of feeling do you get when you think about the law? You know, it can sound kind of negative, can it? Like a list of things that I'm not supposed to do, and I'm in really big trouble if I do them. Recently, I've been reading parts of Psalm 119. And this is a really long psalm. There are 176 verses in it. And in this psalm, David gushes about God's law and how wonderful it is. He doesn't have that view that it's something sort of scary or intimidating. He loves God's law. Why does David derive such delight from the law of God? Well, here are some of the things that David has to say about the law. Let's start with verse 9 from Psalm 119, where David is explaining how following God's law leads to a life that is pure. How can a young person stay on the path of purity? By living according to your word. I seek you with all my heart. Do not let me stray from your commands. I have hidden your word in my heart, that I might not sin against you. Praise be to you, Lord. Teach me your decrees. With my lips I recount all the laws that come from your mouth. I rejoice in your statutes, as one rejoices in great riches. I meditate on your precepts and consider your ways. I delight in your decrees. I will not neglect your word. So, being faithful to God or not falling into habits that are sinful, living what we would call a pure life, is one of the reasons that David values God's law and is desiring it with his whole heart. The image of hiding God's word in our hearts is a powerful one, and that's found here in this little section from Psalm 119. Rejoicing in God's law more than we would in great wealth. It's also a beautiful picture of how valuable God's law is in our lives. In verses 33 through 37 of Psalm 119, David asks God for help in following his law. So not only does he talk to us about how important God's law is for living a pure life, but he recognizes that he can't do this by himself and asks God for help. He asks for understanding and direction. And there's also an emphasis here on the heart. Listen, teach me, Lord, the way of your decrees, that I may follow it to the end. Give me understanding so that I may keep your law and obey it with all my heart. Direct me in the path of your commands, for there I find delight. Turn my heart toward your statutes and not toward selfish gain. Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Preserve my life according to your word. This section particularly speaks really powerfully to me today. And I think that we all really need our hearts to be turned toward God and toward his way, toward his kingdom. Instead of just pursuing our selfish interests, things that we think will make us happy. And here in this passage is a really, really important verse. Turning our eyes away from worthless things. You know, we live in such a visual media age. There's something to see everywhere that we turn and on every device that we have access to. There's, frankly, so much worthless content that tries and sometimes successfully grabs our attention. So this part of the psalm feels like a prayer, like a request. And we need it too. We need to be able to be directed in God's paths and to turn our hearts toward Him instead of towards selfish things, and to turn our eyes away from worthless things. So I'm joining David in praying this psalm. Verses 97 through 104 in Psalm 119 are exuberant and beautiful. Oh, how I love your law. I meditate on it all day long. Your commands are with me and make me wiser than my enemies. I have more insight than all my teachers, for I meditate on your statutes. I have more understanding than all the elders, for I obey your precepts. I have kept my feet from every evil path, so that I might obey your word. I have not departed from your laws, for you yourself have taught me. How sweet are your words to my taste, sweeter than honey to my mouth. I gain understanding from your precepts, therefore I hate every wrong path. David is really, in this psalm, helping us see that God's law is not a burden. It is truly beautiful, and it brings joy to our lives. I love this description of the law. And finally, the most famous verse from Psalm 119, and that's verse 105. You probably have it memorized. Your word is a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. This verse just sums it all up. God's word, including his law, is like a bright, shining light on the path in a dark night. It shows us the way. I hope that you are encouraged about how beautiful God's law really is and what a true blessing it is to follow God's way. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Joining me now is Daniel Biggs. He's production manager for Blue Mountain Television and also the creator of a program for the station called Secret Life of the Desert. Well, also Secret Life of the Forest is one of your productions, and we've already seen that one, but right now we're all in anticipation of Secret Life of the Desert. What kind of show is this going to be?
Well, Lynelle, it's going to be amazing. It's going to blow people's minds. I
think it will.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be completely revolutionary and new because number one, nobody's ever done a documentary on the deserts of the Pacific Northwest. When they think of the desert, or when they think of the Northwest, they think of trees and lakes and waterfalls.
Yeah, the evergreen state, Washington.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But 2/3 of Oregon and Washington are high desert, and so this is just an area that really has just kind of been off the grid. Nobody's really talked about, and so I'm just so excited about it because you're going to see plants and animals and insects that I think most people don't even know exist. So, and they're just right there in our backyard. So it's going to be a great educational tool for our community.
So is all the filming finished?
I would like to kind of say yes, but knowing Mike, you know, every once in a while there's an event that happens in nature, and he's like, hey, we got to go film this. But I think for the most part we are done. Last year, no, it was actually 2 years ago, we went up to the Steens Mountains in September, because at the top of Steens Mountains in September is when spring hits.
Oh, wow.
And it lasts for about a week, and that's where we tried to hit that. And so it was an amazing trip, but Mike had a cold on that time, and so I couldn't get any narration. So we had 4 days of filming, and so we're going to go back in September and do about 3 more days of filming so that we can narrate those.
Yes.
Because I've got such great footage. Wild Horse Lake and Kiger Gorge, and just the Steens are very dramatic, and the Alvord Desert.
Mm-hmm. And when you just mentioned Mike, so we should just sort of clarify for those who might be new to the show. This is Mike Denny.
Mike Denny.
Naturalist.
Yeah, kind of a local favorite guy. He's was voted Man of the Year, I think, last year. And then, he's made lots of contributions to a lot of birding publications. So he's a writer and
An expert on the outdoors.
Yeah, expert on the outdoors. I've never met anybody quite like him. You know, and I think he might have a photographic memory because the database there,
It's pretty good.
He's pretty sharp. Yeah,
it is. So, what are some of the last places where you have been gathering footage besides this place you're going back to at the Steens? But
well, I guess one of the more dramatic things that we did was when we went over to eastern Oregon and filmed the sage grouse, and that was a little while ago, you know. But that was probably the most a big trip, you know, where we had to wake up really early and we had to be up. You know, it was about an hour and a half drive into the desert from the town we were staying at, and then we had to get there before sunrise. So we had to leave extra early, you know, and the wind was howling, and it was about 12 degrees outside, so it was just cold, bitter, just, you know, so.
Yes.
But to be able to film those endangered species was an incredible
it's a treat.
moment. Yeah, it was really amazing.
So what does a typical day of filming for Secret Life of the Desert look like? It's not like you set up a studio and go there. It's really different.
Right. Well, Mike is, he understands the events that are happening in nature, and it's all timing and seasonal, you know, and so there's all these variables that happen. So he'll have a kind of a target species that he would like to go see. And for example, this one didn't work out, and that happens once in a while, but we went to San Juan Island to film the endangered San Juan Island marble butterfly. And it's endemic to that little desert right there. And so we went there, of course, at the right time that we thought, you know, that we were trying to nail it. We were talking to people. Didn't find the island, but we shot all kinds of other things. And really the process is, often when you look out at the sagebrush, you don't see much, but as you walk through, there's little flowers here and a little insect here and a lizard there. And so it's just little treasures that we're searching for. And then so when you're watching the show, it's rich with all these treasures. As a matter of fact, we've filmed, I have a database, and we have filmed over 450 species. So we're going to learn about over 400 species in our local deserts.
So that means that because you're kind of usually going out to pretty remote locations, are you camping in your car? Are you staying in hotels? Are you getting up really early? You're driving way out, or even hiking out with equipment?
Yeah, all the above.
Okay.
We have stayed quite a few nights in camping, and we have some in hotels, and usually it's not, we have not had any glamorous hotels. You know, when you're in Fields, Oregon, it's, you know, a very primitive kind of
You're
stuff.
lucky if there is a hotel at all.
Yeah, yeah, you're lucky if you have a shower, things like that, you know. But I do know some of the camping. When we stayed up on the Steens Mountains that night, it dropped down and got so cold that, I mean, it was just bitter cold, and you just don't anticipate that sometimes. That, you know, I think that I'm somewhat experienced and seasoned being out, but.
And you probably had a good sleeping bag.
I had a pretty good one, but it was so cold that night being up, because I think, you know, I think we're about 8,000 feet where we were camping, and it just got cold that night, and everyone was pretty. So we've had a couple rough, because the desert gets cold at night, really cold. It's quite shocking. So we had a good mix of, and it just kind of depends on where we're going, and then we do typically take gear into, and I've got a backpack, and so it's been a decent workout for me, bringing the gear around, following Mike around. So. Yeah.
So you're really out there. It's pretty exciting. It's adventurous for sure.
It is.
What are some of the bits of footage that you just cannot wait for our audience to see?
Well, I think some of the trail cam footage is because you get really intimate with the animals there that you just won't see with, you know, I'm really convinced after doing these series that trail cams are a really great way to get to see animals that you're just never really going to stumble across.
This is a camera that you, just to clarify, that you leave.
Yeah.
and you walk away from it and it records footage while you're gone.
Yep. It takes about 8 AA batteries, and it's supposed to be able to go for about a month, and you can set the timing recording and stuff like that. So,
yes.
But the footage from some of those is very exciting. We'll put them in strategic locations, for example, near maybe a water body out in the middle of the desert where
animals are going to be coming to water.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so that's pretty exciting. And there's kind of some mundane things that people don't think about, but Mike, he goes, some of the things he tells me I have a hard time believing. I just kind of have to see it for myself. But he's like, well, we're going to go out and we'll find scorpions, and I had never seen a scorpion luminesce under a UV light. I didn't even know, I'm just like, whatever, Mike, So we're out in the desert, and we remember that first scorpion that we saw, and I was just like, wow, because it glows like a neon sign. When that UV light hits, it's just absolutely electric. They're easy to see, and so that's kind of neat. And another one that's a little mundane, as I was getting to, is a bit of moss. When you go out into the desert, you'll see these patches of just like gray, black moss, right? But they look dead. And Mike says, well, we'll put some water on that. In a few moments, it'll immediately synthesize and start growing and changing to green. I'm like, whatever, I just don't believe you. I was like, I can't process this. So here's this desert plant out in 110 degrees, just looks dead, just this just black chunk of moss. And we pour water on there, and I have the macro lens on there, and immediately it starts photosynthesizing, and it just starts growing and expanding and moving, and
incredible.
So it's just like, bam.
You have footage of that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's like this magic trick almost, because like, hey, watch this. You pour a little water on just some moss out in the desert, and it looks dead, but that water just it just comes right back to life. It's absolutely just a really cool thing to watch.
Incredible.
There's a lot of really interesting.
See, you're highlighting so many amazing creatures and things that happen in the natural world and for those of us who believe that God made all of this for us to explore and enjoy, it's pretty exciting to see what He's done and how He's done it, and sort of what He's left here on the planet for us to learn about.
Lynelle, I feel like this is what God had intended for us to do, is to spend time. So when Mike and I are out filming, I'm learning about the species and I'm filming it, and the days fly by, and when we're done, there's a certain joy and happiness that it brings, and if a certain amount of, that fresh air and sunshine, it is just such it's a wonderful experience to go out and do that. And I just really feel like that's exactly what we're meant to do.
So how can people help to support the program?
Well, we still have, I'll tell you kind of a fun project that maybe somebody would be willing to do if they want to give us a call at the station, is I need somebody to listen to some of these episodes, and I'm about got 4
edited, okay,
out of about 18 to 20, so I got some work still to go. But we need somebody to transcribe the narration, because we want to have closed captionings available for this program. So if somebody's out there,
you're looking for a volunteer who could come in and get it every word down.
Yep, and again, they need to type it into a Word document. So if there's somebody that's really would like to get a sneak peek of the footage,
they could also be one of the first people to see it.
That's right. So, and we'll obviously include them in helping us with that production.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, well, there's an invitation. So that might be just your thing, especially if you're kind of detail oriented. So, and can get every word.
And our website as well.
Yes, please.
There's information about the projects that we're doing, and that's at secretlifetv.com.
Secretlifetv.com.
Yeah.
That's for Secret Life of the Forest and Secret Life of the Desert.
Correct. Yeah. And eventually I'd like to put a little database of all the species that we've been finding there, so it can be a resource for whoever may be coming to those areas.
Wouldn't that be great?
I think it'd be pretty cool.
It would. All right, now this is I have to ask this. This is probably my most painful question, but this is what everybody wants to know. When are we going to all, not just the person who transcribes audio for us, but when are we all going to get to see the first episode on Blue Mountain Television?
I'll tell you, I think it's probably going to be our volunteers and our supporters.
Who will see the first one?
They were, yeah. It's the people that have made donations and have supported Blue Mountain Television, or actually we'd like to reward them, and they're going to get the very first episode. So that'll be in September. Now, I don't know if we'll be quite ready to air then. It would be nice to get them ready by this fall, maybe this winter, maybe when the weather hits and everybody's kind of back in their homes.
Yes. So we are looking at maybe later fall, early winter.
I still have a kind of a little bit of a dreamy aspiration to try to get this in front of the mass, in front of a large crowd. And
like we did with Secret Life of the Forest.
Yes, but on this time, try Secret Life of the Desert to get it onto Amazon Prime.
Yes.
So then it's going to be open up to a worldwide audience, and we can also have the ability to, get a little donation every time somebody watches that. So
yes.
I just believe that might be, it's going to be a good program for all ages and for, all demographic.
Yes,
so.
Wide appeal.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate the update.
Thanks, Lynelle.
And stay tuned. I'll be right back with Station News. Welcome back. Time now for Station News. And as we just heard in that interview with Daniel Biggs, Secret Life of the Desert is coming to Blue Mountain Television probably later in the fall, early winter. And he does have 4 episodes already pretty much edited out of about 18 to 20. So there's more work to do, but we're excited about the progress that is happening with that program. And also, we wanted to let you know that we are still having some trouble with Channel 28. This is frustrating for you who view the station on 28, I know, and it's frustrating for us too. We want you to know that we are actively working with the air conditioning company, and they're trying to get to our needs as quickly as they possibly can so that we can cool down that area where our Channel 28 transmitter is, replace the old air conditioning unit with a better one so that we can keep the equipment cool enough to keep that signal on the air. In the meantime, as we're working on that, we want you to be aware that you could possibly tune in to Channel 21 on broadcast or Channel 36. Those broadcast channels also carry the station, and while the signal might not be as strong for you, hopefully you could get something that is watchable. Or another alternative might be to live stream on your computer and watch the station that way at our website while you are waiting for the air conditioning to be improved at Channel 28 and therefore our signal to be more constant and better. And we wanted to let you know that we are going to be at an upcoming event here in the Walla Walla Valley. Walla Walla Fair is happening this year, and I know we're all really excited about that. It's an important event for our community, and Blue Mountain Television is going to be there with a booth. We're looking forward to this chance to sort of get out of our building and out into the community and be able to connect with you. I really hope that you're going to stop by the booth and say hi to us, introduce yourself, or become reacquainted, because we love the opportunity to talk with our viewers and donors. It's a great experience for us. So keep that in mind coming up in a few weeks at the Walla Walla Fair. And then also, it's our newsletter time. The newsletter has recently come out again for the station, and I know lots of you receive it at your home already, but if you have not received our newsletter for this quarter and you want to be on that list to receive a newsletter, be sure to give us a call at the station at 529-9149, and we will put you on the list and make sure that you receive it each quarter. It's a good way to stay up to date with some of the things that are happening at the station. Of course, this show is also a good way because we can come every week to you and share what's happening. And I'm just preaching to the choir right now because you're watching. You're finding out what is happening at Blue Mountain Television. Of course, we are still raising funds and working on our move to our new facility on Wallula Road. Very, very huge and important project for us, and I know for you as well. And last week I gave some updates about that. Next week I'll try to give some more updates about what's happening in the building. But certainly we need your donations. Your volunteer time is going to be needed coming up as well pretty soon as we are working on that move. So keep it in your prayers, keep it in your thoughts, and also if you could provide a special gift for our move to the new facility, it will certainly make it go faster. You know that Blue Mountain Television is 100% supported by you, those who view the station and appreciate it and feel a passion for this ministry. So the more that you can all do, the more that we can all do together, the more quickly our projects can move forward. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your prayers. And thank you for watching the show today. I'll see you next time.